Amanda.
Hey, Tommy.
Hey, my car broke down and needed a new tire, but it's okay because Thor is going to fix it.
How much did it cost? $45?
He wanted 50, but I knocked him down to 45 because he's Thor. He's nice about it.
That makes sense. It only makes sense if it's Vincent D'Onofrio playing Thor in the 1987 classic Adventures in Babysitting.
It is, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
On Can We Talk About?
Chris, it's Brenda.
Brenda?
Chris.
Brenda, what's wrong?
Oh, Chris, I'm in trouble.
Brenda, you're always in trouble.
No, I'm really in trouble. I did it.
You spiked your tab with Drano?
No, I ran away from home.
You what? Where are you?
I'm at the bus station downtown.
Brenda, look, just don't go anywhere.
I can't. I don't have any money. I spent it all on the cab here. Chris, I need help.
I know.
You're in my house!
If I take a cab to the Andersons, do you think you could pay for it?
Oh no, Brenda, that's gonna be like $40. I don't have $40.
Well, can you pick me up?
No, Brenda, I'm babysitting.
Chris, I can't call anybody else. My dad doesn't know. He'd kill me if he found out. Chris, I'm begging you. It's really scary here. I've just seen 3 people shoot up. A bald Chinese lady with no pants on, and there's this old guy outside who wants his bedroom slippers.
Get out of my house!
You just moved!
Can we talk about the 1987 classic Adventures in Babysitting?
Adventures in Babysitting, the song, the movie that introduced me to all the Motown songs. Because you gotta...
It really did. Nobody's leaving this place until they sing the blues.
Gotta sing the blues.
And nobody walks out of this place without singing the blues.
So, quite famously, this movie is the first directorial debut for Mr. Chris Columbus, who discovered the Harry Potter series.
Yeah, he would go on to do a lot of big things.
Yeah.
John Hughes has nothing to do with this movie, but this is the most John Hughes, not John Hughes movie I've ever John Hughes'd.
Oh, absolutely. You definitely see the influence of John Hughes on Chris Columbus in this. Because it also makes me wonder how much of John Hughes was Chris Columbus and vice versa.
I mean, that's completely fair.
Yeah.
So if you have not seen this movie, this is typical 1980s, early 1990s classic teen comedy. Would you not agree?
Yeah.
Like, this is everything that you need in a comedy to show your child, like you just did.
Yeah. I did.
What comedies used to be and how comedies could be. Also, I feel like we've really, because we're starting this episode, we need to talk about one of the best opening scenes to a movie ever. The music choice. She's dancing around her room, singing to the picture of her shitty ass fucking boyfriend, kissing it, getting ready for school. Like, she's getting ready. It's just like, you're in from the first minute you're in.
Yeah.
And we talked about this a little bit in the Mystery Men episode. The movie poster is so fucking iconic.
Yeah, it is.
It's so good. It's so good. So, yes, this is a classic that, Tom, will let you say why we decided to do this one.
I don't remember why. I think it was
just... You showed it to your kid.
Yeah, that was it. It was just, I kept going through the list, and I'm at a point now where showing my kid who's turning 11 all the classic 80s and even 90s kids movies. This one showed up in the list, but this was a deep cut. But here's the thing about it. I loved this movie as a kid, and I would watch it more. It just was one of those movies that wasn't readily available. Goonies was everywhere, but Adventures in Babysitting was a deep cut. You had to go to the store and rent it. It wasn't something that was on
if
TV.
you didn't own it. It was not a Saturday morning play all day type of movie.
Yeah. But can we talk about the cast for a second before we dive in any further? It's
so fucking good.
It's not only is it so good, it's a lot of that guy kind of stuff. Because I also just found one before this, just before we hopped on.
The thing with this one is you have those the characters of the 80s and 90s movies, right? You have the cast of characters. They all, I mean, like, predominantly most of this cast went on to do more. They didn't die off in the 80s.
Almost all of them. There's a few of them.
But, I mean, let's start with Elizabeth Shue.
Yeah.
Let's start there. One. We got to start there.
Who doesn't love Elizabeth Shue? And the story behind how Elizabeth Shue ended up in this movie is, in my eyes, just hilarious, because it's one of those, like, we almost didn't get more Elizabeth Shue. To be clear, let me take you back to the 80s. Elizabeth Shue was in The Karate Kid in 1984.
She's
right?
so good in The Karate Kid.
So good. Who didn't love her? What boy did not, fall in love with her right there?
What girl did not want to be her?
Yeah. And then she's in a movie, a British horror, like a random movie called Link in 86, right? Just a small, like, little weird horror movie. And that's it. And then Miss Shue goes off to Harvard.
Yeah.
She
sure
is a smart cookie. This girl goes to Harvard. And then while she's in Harvard, right? To be clear, let me back up a second. She went to, is it Wellesley? I can't pronounce it, college. And then she transferred to Harvard in 85. And then she's talking to friends who were also actors, because she was involved in all that kind of world at that point, because she had been in The Karate Kid. And they're like, oh man, we're making so much money off of doing like commercials and stuff. She's like, oh, maybe I'll still like dip my toe in. And then she gets the audition for this movie, for which she drops out of school for. Just to be clear, because Elizabeth Shue, I feel like, was like such like a icon of the 80s. If you look at her resume, she really kind of wasn't until she did Adventures in Babysitting, which literally she dropped out of Harvard to go do. And then she's in Cocktail, Back to the Future 2 and 3. And then the list goes on into the 90s at that point. But her entire career, like, she was like a blip in The Karate Kid, and then went to college and dropped out to become the star of Adventures in Babysitting.
She did end up graduating from Harvard in 2000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So she does have her degree.
Yes. Yeah.
But she was also, this is no tea, no shade to our girl Elizabeth Shue, but
yeah,
she really brought the I look like I'm 40 and I'm supposed to play a 16-year-old vibe.
That was the thing. Even back in the late 80s and early 90s.
Yeah, it's not just her, but
I can't tell. And I was watching something else this week that wasn't this movie that I was like watching, and I'm like, man, I have no conception of how old people are with all the big hair and stuff, that I'm just like, it goes out the window.
It doesn't add up. Yeah, it doesn't add up in the 80s, because I'm like looking at her pictures right now, like truly staring at them. First of all, she's aged fucking fantastically. Yeah. Beautiful. She looks fantastic.
Yeah. She was in The Boys on Amazon.
Okay.
Like on Amazon
I haven't seen
Prime.
it, so I do have to see that. But she is, she's not, she is 80s movies to me. Like, if you ask me what females look like in the 80s in movies, it's her and Molly Ringwald. Like,
well, is that from Back to the Future? Like, is that really where we just like sort of connect to her because she was?
For me, that's Karate Kid.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even watch Back to the Future, the second one, until many years after it came out.
Yeah.
That was not, I didn't watch it.
Can I just tell you, I'm the first figuring it out. I'm looking at a screenshot of her, right?
Okay.
If you just Google Elizabeth Shue and just go right to like Google Images, there's the shot of her from this movie, right? Do you see, I don't know if you're following along with me. If you're looking at the picture, she looks, her hairstyle and even her face in that smile, she looks like the mom from Seventh Heaven.
She does.
Right?
Like
19-year-old
Camden's
Elizabeth
wife.
Shue. They're a spitting image. It could be the same person.
They have a very similar face, and they even have that like Cupid's bow little lip thing going on.
Yeah.
And the hair is the same.
On what earth
is heaven?
Because how old was Elizabeth Shue in 85? Yeah.
Well, she's 59 now. So
she was born in 63. So what year was Adventures in Babysitting?
1987. My mom had me that year.
So
my mother was 19 when she had me. Yeah.
63 you said? What I said? I'm not even paying attention to who's
Someone
talking
said
at this
it.
point.
Someone in this podcast said it, and it wasn't me. So, her birthday's coming up October 6th.
Oh, wow. She was 24 years old, and she looked like the 40-something-year-old mom from Seventh Heaven.
She sure
on the
fucking
WB
did.
network.
She sure did.
Yeah. But give all that aside, right? Still crushing on her hard as
fucking
an
incredible.
adolescent
She
boy.
was incredible.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny, for whatever reason, they made her look older in this movie where I think she's supposed to be like a high school senior, right?
Yeah, and let's just talk about her outfits in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, she's wearing a camel coat with a perfectly coiffed scarf. Like, what 18-year-olds do you know are walking around in camel coats and like perfectly done hair and makeup? Not a thing out of place.
What's happening back then?
Just perfect 80s vibes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, we have to talk about the rest of the cast, but before we do that, I just want to back up 1 second. Because I realized we just sort of jumped right into it. To explain what this movie is, the plot of this movie is Elizabeth Shue is supposed to go on a date with her boyfriend. Do you remember who her boyfriend is? Because this will connect back to the cast anyway.
Yeah, that piece of shit. Bradley Whitford.
Bradley Whitford, who never looked like a teenager.
First
ever
of all,
in his
looks
life.
like a 55-year-old man. When I first saw this, I remember seeing it and like she's like kissing the picture of him in her room when she's dancing around. And I'm like, oh, that must be in the movie. This is going to be like a famous musician. Not a high school boy.
Bradley Whitford had a widow's peak when he was like 19 years old or whatever I forget how old he's supposed to be in this movie. But he is supposed to be, he's like a college kid, right? He's like a fresh or a sophomore in college, I think, or something like that.
Mike Toddwell, what a fucking piece of shit. I hate him. So
she's supposed to, it's their anniversary and she's supposed to go on a date. And then, oh man, Bradley Whitford can't do it because his sister's sick. He's got to go home and take care of his sister. And so she's like, I'm kind of bummed. And then instead, by the way, to be clear, Elizabeth Shue was 24 playing 17, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
And she's dating a college kid. So
yes, not great.
Before we continue, there's a lot of problematic things in this movie that, like, in the 2023 lens, is just like, Jesus Christ. Which, by the way, they did remake this movie, and they took everything out, like all the things that made this movie.
100%, absolutely.
Anyway, so then she, as luck would have it, she gets a phone call for a babysitting gig. Which she goes over to babysit a kid who's 2 years younger than her at this point.
That's the other thing. You're just going to ask your 17-year-old to babysit a kid that she's actively in high school with?
I didn't understand that. And the thing is, like, they basically play it up for, like, the parents just don't trust him because they still treat him like a child. But they don't do it to such an extent where it's like, oh, they shouldn't be, or he deserves to be. It's just kind of like, it is what it is. He's not equipped to watch his younger sister. And obviously his younger sister, who's obsessed with Thor, which we'll get back to a lot. And then, her best friend, Brenda, gives her a call.
Brenda. She's the issue. Brenda is the problem.
Brenda's the problem. Brenda is the catalyst to all this chaos.
We've all had a Brenda friend. I'm sure I've been the Brenda friend, so I'm not going to shit on Brenda too much.
I think my wife has been Brenda. Like, it's
Brenda ran away from home, guys.
Brenda ran away from home. I think there was an answer why, and I remember it being something stupid. But anyway, so now she's stuck at the bus station, and she needs her friend Chris, which is Elizabeth Shue, to come pick her up. And then from there, hilarity ensues as she has to pile the kids into the station wagon and head off into the city
for a night of misadventure.
For a night of misadventures, which, by the way, tagging along with Chris is and we can go into like the main part of the cast too. So you have the little girl, Sarah Anderson, who is Maya Burston. Okay. Didn't really do much after this movie anyway. That's fine. You have Keith Coogan, who also to me was so much of like a 80s staple, but I don't even know what
100%.
I mean, he was in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. I think that was the main one.
I fucking love that movie, by the way.
We'll do that movie at some point. And then
he's in Cheetah, which is another good one.
Yeah,
Toy
very
Soldiers.
like late 80s, early 90s face you remember. And then his overly sexual best friend whose libido is pumping at 200%.
He's a tiny creep. We can say it. He's a little fucking creep.
Daryl, played by Anthony Rapp.
Who?
Which I was like,
who went on to do just fine for himself. He sure did,
Yes.
Mr. Rapp.
Yes, the guy who was bringing down Kevin Spacey himself, Anthony Rapp, was tagging along with Elizabeth Shue in the back of the station wagon. And then they hit the highway in Chicago because, of course, and that's the other thing too. It's like very John Hughes. It's Chicago. And then they get a flat tire, and then oh no, Chris forgot her entire wallet and everything at home. They have no money.
She's only got $45. Okay,
only $45, and they have to figure out how to go rescue Brenda and get back home before the parents come home from their party. I know.
Brenda is the issue here.
Brenda is the issue. So beyond Chris, Brad, Daryl, and Sarah, who else do we have in this movie? We have Brenda. Do you know who Brenda is? Because I didn't know this until like just before we started recording this episode. This is the part
she's the
that
cop that Arnold Schwarzenegger falls in love with in Kindergarten Cop.
Well, she's the victim or whatever. Like
the person. Yes.
Yeah.
And so
I didn't realize that.
When you see her, like, I saw an interview of her in the like early 90s. I was like, oh yeah, there it is. Yeah. There it is. I had to see it though. And I was like, oh, there it is. There's that hair.
She to me is very much the person who is like the John Hughes comic relief of this movie. By the way, just want to throw something else out there.
Poor Brad.
Because I know this connects to your world and the people you love. Do you know who else she was married to back in the 90s?
Is it someone I'm going to like or someone I'm not going to like? Well, she was married to Will Arnett, right?
Yeah.
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 For like a hot second, not long.
For a hot second. And then, and there's a whole other cast of characters, but can we talk about the one that I'm so excited to talk about?
The only one that matters.
The only one that matters. So
Thor himself.
The little girl.
This is the best Thor movie ever made.
Okay. This to me, because it's one thing, if you're watching this movie, and if you've never seen this movie, stop right now, go watch it, because I'm going to ruin something. Ruin it and like reveal something, because I think the reveal is the most fun part. And I watched this movie when I was a kid, and now watching it as an adult, I'm like, oh my God, that's Thor. And there's this big reveal. So the little girl is obsessed with Thor. She wears the Thor helmet, right? Talks about Thor all the time. And then the man who owns the tire shop, who they have to convince to get the car back from,
for $50.
For $50. Which is such a steal, even in 1987.
I mean,
get a whole tire.
Come on.
Yeah, it's great. And they also fixed the windshield that they broke for free.
Yes, they did break the windshield.
That was just thrown in. He's revealed, and it's like this big moment where it's like this guy's revealed, and then he looks like Thor, and the little girl's convinced he's Thor, and standing there, buff with his blonde, white blonde, like bleach blonde. What would you call that?
Platinum blonde.
Platinum blonde hair.
Platinum blonde
is a young 1987 Vincent D'Onofrio.
White beater wearing Vincent D'Onofrio. Now, oddly enough, he's so jacked in this movie.
So jacked.
And he showed up to the set for Full Metal Jacket while shooting this, like having just gotten done doing this, jacked. And they were like, you can't look like that because you look like you could kick everybody's ass, and you have to look like the guy that everybody could kick their ass. So he had to gain a shit ton of weight very quickly to play Gomer Pyle.
Wow.
Because he was so fucking jacked. And I don't think that people are going to understand the fact that we are saying at one point in his life, Vincent D'Onofrio, the man, the myth, the motherfucking legend, was jickety jacked.
I mean, fully. And the best part is he's standing there, and he's wearing... The thing about it, too, is we've always seen Vincent D'Onofrio. We've seen Vincent D'Onofrio the rest of his career, right? The man has like no hair or short hair, or he's bald or some kind of variation of that.
Well, he's bald from Gomer Pyle on. Like,
yeah. But that's the thing. In this movie, he's wearing a red trucker hat, which spilling out from the side is this blonde platinum Thor hair.
Beautiful.
But it's hilarious because it looks like something you buy at a costume shop for Halloween, where it's like, I want the red hat with the hair. It looks fake. It all looks like just a joke, and it's hilarious. And he's playing it off like he's trying to not be Thor, but he is Thor, and it's kind of implied that he really is. however they're playing
There's
it.
just like one of those moments in 80s, 90s movies where like the bad guy's soul kind of comes out and he like melts for the little kid, just like in Home Alone, the like scary old man. Like this is that moment where she's like, here, I know why you're being mean to us. You don't have your special helmet. And she tries to give him her Thor helmet. And it just like, that's all it takes for him to just like come alive. Because she's like, you're my hero.
Yeah.
And then he's like, yeah, here you go. Take your helmet, kid. I've got one at home. And she's like, thanks, Thor. Shit on it all you want. I love it.
No, you understand? Vincent D'Onofrio is showing up in this super small one scene part as Thor. Just did it for me because I was like, that's it. This movie is a hidden gem. There's so much about it. If you're into music, I am not. But if you're into music,
you've got some fucking legends in this. So
first off, you mentioned up front, like, what's the line in the movie?
Nobody gets out of this place without singing the blues.
Right? That is a very, very famous,
guitarist.
Very famous jazz guitarist, right? Jazz or blues? One of those?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
He was,
Albert Collins,
yeah.
And then
he died in 93, so died shortly after making this movie.
And then, and this is the part that I didn't know about. I had to like Google it while I was watching it, and I was like, oh wow. Then at some point in the movie, which by the way, I will say I don't remember this scene for whatever reason, and it seems like it's such like a weird diversion, but they end up at a frat party at some point for reasons, and then there's a guy like musicians performing at a frat party. Now, just one other thing too, in the late 80s at frat parties, did they just have like pop music playing instead of like actual like rock music or like all like punk?
I don't know. I wasn't invited to any frat parties when my mom was having me in high school. Maybe she was.
But Southside Johnny was playing, which I didn't understand who Southside Johnny was. I was like, I know the name sounds familiar, and it's embarrassing that I feel like I don't know that.
That's New Jersey sound, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Famous from hanging out and playing around with Bruce himself, correct?
Yep. And also Billy Branch is also in this, and he's like a crazy, crazy, insane harmonica player. He's also in this as well.
There's a lot of fun, like random people that pop up. I have a fun fact for you.
Okay, bring it out.
I'm excited. So the movie takes place in Chicago. You know what wasn't even filmed in Chicago?
Yes, I did. Tell the kids where it's filmed.
Toronto? Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure. Now I'm second guessing myself.
No, you're correct. And the reason that became a problem, did you hear this story about why it became a problem?
See, this is why you're in charge of fun facts.
Toronto was too clean. It didn't look like a believable downtown Chicago. So the areas that they were shooting in, they were putting litter on the streets, and they had to hire a security team to stop the street cleaning people from picking up the litter that they put on because Toronto was too clean. And one of the only scenes that they shot in Chicago was the subway scene.
Yeah.
So they showed up to the subway at 3 a.m. to film the scene.
Yeah.
No one was there. The subway was shut down. So one of the crew guys had to pick the lock, and they broke into the Chicago subway system to film.
Nice. I wonder if the guy who broke in was from Chicago himself. Sounds
probably.
Right.
He's probably, all you gotta fucking do is this.
Yeah.
I don't know how people from Chicago talk. They talk like Julius Pepperwood.
It's such a fun movie because like it's like kids and they're running into like, one of the kids gets stabbed in the foot or doesn't really. I don't even know if he actually gets stabbed in his like toe. They go to the hospital and it's all like downtown any whatever city, but especially Chicago is very scary. And
very scary. I mean, like just the Brenda scene.
Yeah.
She's in the bus station using a payphone, folks. If you don't know what that is, they used to be these little areas you could put money on and call people. And so hers was an enclosed payphone. And on the floor, there's like these nasty fucking slippers and like, I don't even know what you'd call it. Accoutrements from the nice man who thinks he lives in there. And she's on the phone. He's banging on the thing. It's an older man. He's like, get out of my house.
Get out of my house. And then she just kicks his stuff out of the phone booth. And she's like, you've been evicted, and then just closes the door.
You've moved. And then there's some random guy standing at the bottom of the stairs who just like flashes a gun. I'm like, what kind of fucking bus station is this? And then she's
Greyhound.
What was the other guy?
Answer.
Yeah, Greyhound. And then what was the other thing? Oh, she's like, there's
the cute little kitten.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I would like that part.
Brenda loses her glasses and she has no vision whatsoever, and she sees a cute little kitten. And two like janitors come up to her. She's like, "Lady, we need the animal." And she's like, "Why?" She's like, "We got to kill it." Like, what? You're going to kill this little kitten? They start laughing. They're like, "Ma'am, that's a rat."
I would know it's a rat and still want to take it home, just for the record.
Poor Brenda.
Poor fucking Brenda.
I love that though, because even like the characters of homeless and crazies that are torturing Brenda in like as she's invading their space of the downtown Chicago bus station is so funny that it just keeps going, and she's like trying to take a nap and some girl steals her glasses. Just back and forth. I love it so much. It's so great. Brenda's awesome in this.
Brenda kills it. You know that Elizabeth Shue wasn't the original girl for this, right?
Well, I sort of knew that because I know that there was some convincing to have her drop out of, Harvard and do the movie. But do we know who the other choice was?
So apparently, this is a technical, you'll be able to explain this better than I am, but like Paramount was only going to make this movie if Molly Ringwald was the lead. Like they refused everybody else.
Yeah.
So the people that wrote the screenplay, the producers, Deborah Hill and Linda Obst, they brought it to Paramount and they thought that, let's bring it to them. They've got the first right of refusal.
Yeah.
And they said that this has no commercial appeal whatsoever unless Molly Ringwald starred. They brought it to Touchstone, owned by Walt Disney.
Yeah.
And Walt Disney said, I don't think so. Elizabeth Shue is who they brought in. Valerie Bertinelli was actually the way that Disney was going to go. But they said that she kind of came off mean and angry.
I was going to say,
she's a little mean and angry. Yeah. You need someone a little bit more bubbly and effervescent.
But that's the thing, too, is I think Elizabeth Shue rides that line where, like, when she puts her foot down, like, she seems like the kind of person to do that. But at the same time, too, she's still someone you can fawn over. Whereas Molly Ringwald, I don't know, Molly was too soft. I don't know. I couldn't have seen Molly Ringwald in this role. Like, she just get batted around. She would have died in the first act.
I agreed. And so Christopher Columbus really liked Elizabeth Shue because she had really good comedic timing.
Yeah.
That Molly Ringwald didn't have, or probably didn't present in her movies, but he gave the whole cast a list of movies that they had to watch before they started shooting. And that was Scorsese's After Hours, a Marx Brothers movies, two of them, Horse Feathers and Duck Soup. And he gave them those to watch because he's like, this is the comedic timing I want. And like, I guess Elizabeth Shue was probably excelled at that, but
she's a super smart lady.
This is technically before Pirates of the Caribbean, because Pirates of the Caribbean is 100% a Disney production, where this is considered Touchstone, owned by Disney. This is the first PG-13 movie and the first Disney movie to ever say fuck.
Whoa. I will say, they definitely drop some salty language.
They sure did.
Again, in 2023 lens, I said it a few times. I was like, this movie cannot be made today. And to be clear, what I mean by not be made today is the language. There's a running gag that there is a Playboy playmate who is a dead ringer for Elizabeth Shue. And it literally is Elizabeth Shue, but they're just like, it's not Chris. It's just a lookalike, yada, yada. The other thing too,
she said that was the hardest thing she's ever had to do in a movie.
Wait, like do like the fake Playboy?
The fake shoot. She's like, I didn't take my clothes off.
Yeah.
But it was really, really fucking tough because even though it wasn't her.
Yeah.
Like she was like, that was like a very tough thing for her to do. And fun fact, but that I was just scrolling through my notes of this article. We said that the little sister didn't go on to do anything else.
Oh, did I lie?
Well, I was with you on that one. Did you know that she's in one of the Back to the Future sequels? She plays his aunt that she plays Marty McFly's aunt as a little girl.
Oh. Okay.
I can't put a face on that right now. Like I can't remember that.
See the little like redheaded girl's like just dirty face when he goes yeah, I can see it in the first one or the second one.
The first one. I think it's the first one. Yeah, it's the first one.
Yeah, isn't she the little girl sitting at the table?
Yeah.
She plays to the kid aunt from the Wonder Years.
And you want to know what's funny also in the same article? It says that Back to the Future was offered to Touchstone Disney first, and they turned it down because they thought a scene of a mom being attracted to her son would not be a good look for Disney.
Yeah, that's... Look at you now, Disney. You could have had the Back to the Future ride at the parks and stuff. I mean, maybe it's a good thing because I don't know because at least Back to the Future is locked in a vault right now. They're not going to try to remake it or anything.
And there have been remakes of this, which I think we should hold off to the end for that because it's unfortunate.
Yeah. By the way, I did completely lie. You are right.
Okay.
The little girl also went on to star in a show that I do think they should bring back. I do think they should remake. It was a little TV show on Fox in the early 90s called Parker Lewis Can't Lose. And she played his Parker Lewis's younger annoying sister.
Oh, okay. Yes, I see it. I never watched that. I'll say that.
Yeah. Great show. Love that show. And I would love for them to bring something like that back. It was essentially like Parker Lewis is this overly cool kid with like a ragtag team of friends, like a nerdy kid and a jock or, whatever. And then he's always like feuding with the principal. And I think Fox was sort of like dinged at like is this just you kind of trying to rip off Ferris Bueller's Day Off and try to make like a fake Ferris Bueller's knockoff, which itself was tried to turn into a TV show and failed, but that's a whole other story.
Well, Siskel and Ebert. So Ebert said that he didn't like this. This felt very John Hughesy. Felt like it was Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but for girls.
It's not a bad thing.
And Ebert said Siskel preferred this to Ferris Bueller's. Well, he said this was way more enjoyable for him to watch than Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Well, I'll give this one thing too that I read somewhere, and I forget where I read it. Maybe it might even be on your fun facts, that the movie was like the director of photography purposely filmed this like a drama. Mm-hmm. Like it wasn't filmed like a comedy. It wasn't bright lights or like, everything was like poorly or dimly lit on purpose to give it that kind of gritty look. But also I think they mentioned something along the lines of, and don't quote me on this, like sort of like keeping the audience on their toes of like, they wanted them to feel uncomfortable because it is in like an alien setting. And like, there's this like, kids from the suburbs and they're in this environment that is not fun and safe. It is very scary. I mean, they get into the city and then they get towed and then immediately there's like gunfire and like there's
fucking
carjackers. Yeah, it's great. I love this movie. It's so good.
Well, the original, what you call a superhero? The original superhero that Sarah's obsessed with is He-Man and She-Ra. Huh. And last minute, because that was the screenplay, and then last minute, Chris Columbus was like, I'm a huge fan of comics, and I want it to be Thor. So he changed the script from She-Ra and He-Man. And oddly enough, later the year after this came out, Masters of the Universe came out, fucking flippity flopped. Yeah. And so toy sales went down like crazy. Uh-huh. And so had they stuck with that, they were like, oh, that would have sucked because, whatever. But now Thor's doing all right. Like, when our generation thinks of Thor, I want them to be thinking of blonde Vincent D'Onofrio, but we're thinking of a beautiful Hemsworth, and that's fine. I'm fine with that.
I was going to say, based off what you just said, it almost makes me a little, like, disappointed that when they made Thor movies, they didn't call Mr. Chris Columbus. I mean, he might have been, I forget what year they made Thor.
Yeah, he really loves them, too.
I mean, what year did Thor come out? Like, the original,
Like
2011.
With the Hemsworth? Yeah.
With the Hemsworth guy. So 2011. So, I mean, he was busy doing Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the Lightning Thief. And then he was not busy for a couple
those
years.
books and that movie. Stay
he wasn't
tuned.
busy for a couple. He wasn't busy for a couple years when he did Pixels, which at that point he'd be sitting in a corner and just be like, "All right, you're on a timeout. You're not allowed to do Pixels. That's terrible."
Do you want to hear a really funny story that I think you will appreciate? So, Mr. Coogan, after he acknowledged the age difference between him and Elizabeth Shue, he said that he was out to dinner with her and brought up the prospect of them maybe dating, and she said she laughed in his face so hard, exactly like she does in the movie, and it totally crushed his heart. And he took that with him in the movie. And he said, when the frat boy rescues her in the movie, I used all that heartbreak I had and the jealousy, and I felt very jealous and possessive of her.
Can I also tell you that's another thing? Well, also he's 53. Is he literally 10 years younger than her?
It says 6 years in real life.
6 years. Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's, as of today, she's 59. He's 53. Okay, so that makes sense. What I was gonna say. Oh, that's such heartbreak. And she was what, 24? So how old
she
was
just
he?
shattered his baby little heart.
Oh my God.
18.
Poor Keith Coogan. But what I was going to say too is I partially like that about this movie, but I also hate it because I don't like the guy she sort of ended up with, which is George Newbern. But the way the movie runs is, yes, so she starts out with Bradley Whitford and the kid she's babysitting, who in the movie is only supposed to be 2 years difference than her, who is fawning over her and has a crush, right?
Yeah.
And I think in any other 80s movie, they would have ended up together, right? Because they would have went through this entire experience and came out the other side. Instead, she randomly runs into this frat party for reasons and then borrows money from the guy. Is that what he does? Give her money, right? I think that's part of it.
Yeah, and I don't know because.
And then he tracks her down and they end up together.
They do. And you remember the end where he comes to Dan Lynch, Dan played by George Newbern, comes to give back the roller skate that Sarah left in his car or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you look up and our poor little boy is just watching it happen
through the window.
But the best part, and I literally just watched this clip before we started recording. It's so cute because Anthony Rapp pats him on the back it's okay, buddy. And they're watching in the window. Oh, so sad.
This is, by the way, after he got stabbed in the foot for trying to defend.
Not a great time. Not a great time for him. The things we do for love. The things we do for love. But that is such
Yeah, to be clear, though, I just want to make this very clear. I'm not advocating for he did all this and he deserves her. I'm just saying in the way 80s movies were written or movies in general, right? They went through this traumatic experience together. Her boyfriend was an asshole. He stood up to the boyfriend. They got into a fight in the restaurant. Brad, and played by Keith Coogan, goes through all this stuff to defend her and defend her honor. And he really loves her. And then she's just like, oh no, you're 2 years younger than me. And then ends up with the guy that's 4 years older than her. Wait, more, because she's supposed to be 17 and he's something in college. He's in a frat, right? So, and and clearly he's not a pledge, so he's not a freshman in college. So you can deduce enough that this guy is 21, 22, and she's 17, and she goes for him instead of the kid that she spent the entire night with.
I know, it's really sad.
I know. Poor
I
Brad.
know. And back to our little tales about where it was shot. Did you know that Chris Columbus worked really hard on letting the studio bring everybody back to Chicago for the blues scene, though? Back to the music part. Yeah, he brought them back to Chicago because he was like, if we're going to film a blues scene, we've got to do it in a blues club, in a blues bar in Chicago.
So that scene was in Chicago.
That scene was in Chicago.
Wow.
And apparently there was it was not in the original screenplay. That whole thing was not in the screenplay. That was a Christopher Columbus whole dream that he wanted to do.
You keep calling him Christopher Columbus.
I know I do. I'm so sorry. And he's a really bad
the
person. Chris Columbus. I'm going to call him Harry Potter. Father Columbus of the Harry Potter universe.
I know that we've renamed Columbus Day to like Indigenous Peoples Day, but can we just keep it back at Columbus Day and then instead celebrate the legacy and filmography of Chris Columbus? I'm going to ask my Indigenous friends and be like, let's just really fuck his shit up. Like, let's just pretend he never existed. I think that's viable. I think that's what we should be doing. I think this year on October 9th, we should celebrate all the movies of Chris Columbus.
That's what I'm going to do. And I'm also going to celebrate. I'll let my Indigenous friends tell me how else I can celebrate. And I'm going to. But
now if he directed a movie like Last of the Mohicans or something to that extent, we can sort of combine the two. But unfortunately.
Yeah, but some of those movies did not cast Indigenous people in them. Yeah.
Well, that's a shame.
I know. That's why
even Mystery Men cast someone who was Indigenous.
We're going to have to look into this more
before
we make this an international holiday. We're going to look into this. What? Okay,
You just discovered something. I'm watching you discover something in real time.
So I clicked the link that I had in my notes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so there was an accidental bungle with one of the props that led to a narrative breakthrough. They're shooting a sequence behind the toy store, running down the alley, and it was like really clumsy. There was a line of dialogue that wasn't landing. So it was really late and they needed to get it out. So Sarah had the hat, the hammer, the backpack, and the cape.
Yeah.
And they're completely done for the night. Everybody's leaving. And the script supervisor came up to the producer and said, I feel terrible. She didn't have that backpack in the scene. She should have had it and she didn't have it. So Chris Columbus and I are thinking this is a pretty big deal. And we thought, wait, we can use this. We never really thought how George Newbern, the boyfriend, shows up to the house unless the skate was in the car with her dress on it. So the person forgetting the backpack is how the skate ended up in the car and how he ends up at the house. So it like kind of rewrote the script a little bit.
Oh, okay.
But it follows. So that's what I had in my notes.
Yeah.
It follows up with the original script didn't include Thor. It was Dan Rather. Sarah's idol worshiping apparently went through a few phases. Originally, she had a crush on Dan Rather. In the original script, she was a news junkie. Then they changed it to her having a huge crush on the Chicago Bears, and Jeffrey Katzenberg said, nope, in 10 minutes, nobody will remember them. And then they started landing on comic book characters.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about the version of this movie where this little girl is obsessed with Dan Rather, and Vincent D'Onofrio has to play Dan Rather.
It would have been funny if Dan Rather actually showed up. He's like, I also own a tire shop in Chicago.
Oh my God!
Happy the way
what
it landed.
A different movie that would be. Holy!
I
Santa
also think
Claus
if they did the whole like Bears route, I think that also would have been super cheesy and that
super cheesy. And unfortunately, with athletes, unless it's like one of those years that storybook winnings happen, nobody fucking remembers the name of the running back on the Bears from 1987.
No, it's and especially if they're playing themselves, like, everything else aside, I have to put it aside. I'll still watch the Naked Gun movies despite O.J. Simpson acting in it. But he's not playing.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I know it's unfortunate. But he's the only football player in a movie that I'm like, all right, that's done differently. And also the rest of the movie sort of like.
You don't feel like that in Ace Ventura? I like the football player additions into Ace Ventura.
Well, who do you have in there? I mean, you have Dan Marino, but he's so legendary.
That's very true. He's gone on to be legendary without murder, so he's done okay.
Right. But that's like having like Joe Montana. I almost said Joe Montana. That's a very different. That's a different person. Joe Montana being in like if they're like such a legendary character, it's almost like but you can't figure that out. Especially like current gen and like players.
This is completely unrelated, but my friend Taryn, if you are listening to this, her uncle looks just like Joe Montana. And it's actually their anniversary today that we are filming this. And at their wedding, I was so drunk and I'm like, it's fucking Joe Montana. There's no universe. You can't convince me. This is not Joe Montana. He lives in Florida.
See,
how is this not Joe Montana?
What you needed to do is go up to him and be like, hey, can I get a picture? And then go on Instagram and be like, I met Joe Montana.
No, we were all saying it to him. Like, every single one of us was him. We're like, yes, you sir, not. Like,
yeah, but it would have been funnier if you like drunkenly update Instagram. And, you have to get a few spelling errors in there, too, just to prove the point of like, I met Joe Montana.
I could have, because I was so drunk at that wedding. Happy anniversary, Jimmy and Taryn. I was so drunk at that wedding that I had to be put to bed by my lovely fiance at about 9 p.m. 9 p.m. I was put to bed. Like, carried to the room, put to bed.
Damn.
So let's talk about the spin-offs. Well, first, let's talk about this. And I need you to you have your Googleometer ready?
Yeah.
Can you please? Okay, so the poster, which we've talked about earlier, was illustrated by Drew Streisand. He's apparently a legendary movie poster illustrator, and he did all the Star Wars, Back to the Future, Indiana Jones, and Goonies. So that kind of style, like if you look at the Goonies poster and then you look at this poster, very similar.
Yeah.
Just in the way that it's illustrated. Too. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Completely.
Yeah.
In the UK, they made the name different. Did you know about this?
No. I knew the original name for the movie.
Okay, what was the original name?
Oh, I think maybe I was confusing the two, but all right, I only know this because of Wikipedia, but I'll let you take it.
So A Night on the Town is what they called it in the UK. Look at that fucking poster.
Oh wait, where do I find this? All right, Night of the Town poster.
UK poster.
Well,
that's not even the craziest one.
To be clear, because we're an audio podcast here.
Yes.
So Adventures in Babysitting, you have Adventures in Babysitting in this like glossy kind of like, what do you compare it to? Like the lettering and the font, it has that like metallic glossy kind of look to it.
Yeah, and it's like very 80s, right? So it's got that green glow behind the city. That the Chicago skyline is behind them.
And it's them, and it's the entire like group, the babysitter and the kids, like climbing a wall, kind of like Batman in the 60s.
Going down a building, essentially. Yeah, climbing like down or up a building.
Yeah, they're like climbing a rope, like walking up a building. What do they call that? Like
that is called something. Yeah, it's something.
Okay, but so that's the original poster. Night of the Town poster, UK. Let's see what we got here. I don't know if I'm getting the right one because all the ones it's showing me is like a wide version of it. What is happening?
Okay, let's see.
Wait. Why is the guy?
It's so weird. They changed her outfit. They changed the poster. They changed the buildings. That's not even the weirdest one.
Okay, so to be clear, in the original, you have Elizabeth Shue holding the rope and with the little girl wrapped around her neck, kind of dangling there, and then the two other boys, the teenagers, climbing the rope below her. In the UK poster, it's the random frat guy at the end of the movie at the top for reasons. Holding her, rescuing her
because a woman couldn't possibly be doing this by herself.
Yes, women need men. And then the little girl's not even there.
She's not even there.
They forgot her. She fell.
It's a completely different city.
Oh my God, it is. That's New York. That's the Empire State Building.
It's not even the right city.
Who did this?
I have no idea. And like, they change her skirt and her heels so it looks a little classy, a little sexy.
Well, yeah, because in the original poster, she's wearing like knee-length skirt, and I don't even know if you can even tell what shoes she's wearing, but like they're not like she's got socks
penny
on.
Loafers. She's wearing socks and penny loafers.
In this one, she's wearing
the actual outfit she wears in the movie, which makes sense. And this one, it looks like she's a fucking secretary.
Yeah. Oh my God. And then the kids are just there like, what's happening?
What do we do?
Where did the little girl go?
And she's wearing these like 1-inch heels. Like what? Like what the fuck is this outfit? That's the first one. Now I need you. Like I just need you. Okay, so now that you guys have this visual, please look it up on your own because it's going to make you laugh.
It is.
Go to the Japanese version.
Oh my God. What do I search that one?
I would just put Adventures in Babysitting Japanese poster.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
It's not good.
I think I have to search Adventures in Babysitting.
Yeah, that's what I'm
poster,
doing.
Japanese.
Adventures in Babysitter, Japanese movie poster. Okay, now let's look here, folks.
Okay,
There it is. Okay.
Okay, so one of the things I'll point out too is okay. There's so much wrong with this
scary man with a claw hand.
Wait. Hang on, I'm gonna get to that. So to be clear, one of the climactic scenes in the movie is they go to that building. I don't know the name of that building in Chicago, but it's like the entire roof is all glass panels, and it's like a 45-degree angle. And in one of the scenes, the little girl is like slides down there. It's like going out the building, and the bad guy's chasing her. Now there's the bad guys, like the mobsters who are chasing after them because they stole a Playboy, and then there's the truck driver, Handsome. What was his name again? Do you remember his name?
It's not Handsome Dan.
It wasn't Handsome Dan.
Ah, shit. I just had the cast list in front of me.
It is
Handsome
John
John.
Handsome John Pruitt, played by John Ford Noonan. And he has no hand, and he has like one of those like claw hands in the beginning of the movie. And they're like, at first they're scared of him. And he's like, oh, I lost it in a tire accident. And they're like, oh, we're sorry for being scared for you. And he's kind of played for like he seems scary, but in reality, he's actually a nice guy, right? This poster in Japan, for some reason, first off, I will say, I guess I'm okay with the fact they put them outside on that rooftop in this.
Yeah, that's
I'm almost
fine.
okay with that.
What's with the racism? What's with the fucking racism?
So basically, like, replacing the moon skyline behind them is one of the very few bad guys in the movie, the one black man who they were like, make him scarier, so give him the white truck driver who we know is actually a good guy's like claw hand for reasons. And so,
like, come on. I was like, what the fuck?
A Night on the Town.
So fucking weird. Okay, so
hey, you know what? I'll give it to the Japanese. A little bit extra racism, but at least they didn't like less sexism, more racism. Is that a fair
when did we think that the
U.S.
poster was going to be the one with the most politically correct poster here?
I don't know.
I don't either.
That's
and
hilarious.
Then let's talk these remakes though.
Oh yeah, I don't. I'm so.
In 1989. A mere 2 years after the success of this movie, which cost $7 million to make, grossed $34 million. Pretty decent return.
Yeah.
Not too shabby in the 80s. CBS shot a pilot as a remake for this movie, starring your boy Joey Lawrence and Brian Austin Green.
Well, hang on, just to back up. They had a tendency to do this because I don't know if it was them or NBC that did the Ferris Bueller pilot that also crashed, and part of me wants to say that it also included that they also included Joey Lawrence.
Joey Lawrence and Brian Austin Green. They just
kept trying to shove him into things for whatever reason. The pilot, by the way, the Chris in that pilot was played by Jennifer Guthrie, who went on to play a role on the aforementioned Parker Lewis Can't Lose with the girl from this movie. So
okay,
but Joey Lawrence played Brad, and Brian Austin Green played Daryl, and Courtney Peldon. That some of these names sound familiar, and then I look at them, I'm like, I don't know who that is. Should I know them? Are they from something? But I think this girl just played in a bunch of random movies. But she played Sarah as a little kid. But what I don't understand is what's the concept? Because this is like not a road trip movie. I think this is like there's a whole other like category I think you kind of put these movies into, but it's almost like a road trip movie because they're outside the house, they're around the city, they have to get
in the
home.
Most
there's like a
bomb ass fucking wooded side of station wagon. Let's be honest,
and
legit.
But how do you go from that to being like, hey, let's make it a 22 episode series? Like,
I have no idea. And also, so that didn't work, right?
No.
Didn't work.
That was just a pilot, right? Did that ever air?
Just a pilot. That was it. Never aired, never was picked up, unsold completely. apparently in 2011, there was like a little rumor that Miley Cyrus was going to star as the Chris character in a remake. Oh. She said that never happened. That was kiboshied. But then it did happen. And it's fucking trash.
It is, yeah.
It's so bad.
So it was a Disney Channel original movie. It is the 100th Disney Channel original movie. It came out in 2016. And they just sanitized the whole thing. Like, that's, I think, the part that just, like, hurts my heart a little bit.
That's a very good way to put that.
Granted, like, you know, okay, we look at the original and we're going to carry over all the cursing, all the shenanigans that happened to Brenda at the bus station. I don't think you can include any of that in a Disney Channel original movie. But, and also are there 2 babysitters in this? Is that the...
Dude, I watched fucking just the pilot, not, okay, I said
trailer?
The pilot, just the trailer, and I was like, that is so bad. And I am a Disney movie junkie. My sister and I, like any Disney movie made in the 90s, we've seen it, we can quote it, we're obsessed with it. It was our personality. This one was made later on. It is so bad. Maybe good for a younger generation, like kids like 10 to 15. But this movie, the beauty of these movies, this one especially, is you were watching it together with your kids and laughing just as hard as they were. You can't do that. Yeah. Like, it's trash. Sorry, Disney.
And the thing is, to be clear too, because I'm trying to read a little bit of the synopsis, and I mean, I think maybe you understand it better, but it seems like they just completely threw the original, like the only thing that's the same about this is that there's a babysitter and a car gets towed and they have to try to get the car back. Is that essentially the only remaining?
I think so. It says 2 teen rival babysitters. What the fuck is a rival babysitter?
Oh man, in your town growing up, there weren't rival babysitters?
No, my mom said, lock the door. Here's $20. Don't answer the phone. That was the rival babysitter. Yeah. Or our next door neighbor, Joy, came over.
Can I tell you, it was, as a young boy growing up, I will say I had no interest in the Babysitters Club, but I did have an appreciation. Well, because that fit your demographic, but I did have an appreciation for the concept of all these young girls starting up like a business. And I was like, that was the part that was like, oh man, can't there be like a...
Did you have appreciation, or were you just like trying to gather material for your young spank bank? It's like,
no,
Stacy's going to come over and babysit me. She's hot.
I never, I don't have to dive that in. I didn't really have, I never had a babysitter. So I never got to like experience that side of, never. Never.
Here, okay, so this is a fun game.
None of those categories work for me.
Never had a babysitter. Because I was going to say, let's tell a fun, crazy story that happened when you had a babysitter and you've never had one.
No, the closest I got was like a family friend watched me.
I lost you. Oh, there you are.
The closest I got was like a family friend watched me who was also like a teenager for like, I don't know, 20 minutes, and he locked me in a closet. But he was like my cousin's friend. And that was it. That's what I got.
Why did he lock you in the closet? Like he just legitimately put you there and locked you?
Because I was just being annoying. So he was just like, just go away and lock me in the closet. So that's the closest I get.
That's a little bit traumatic. Like you're being quite dismissive.
No, this wasn't a traumatic.
Seems quite traumatic. Okay.
No, and to be clear, when I say locked me in the closet, it wasn't a giant. It was a giant closet with all my toys inside. Okay. Where like enough room where I can play. So it was like I was just in there playing with my toys. It was fine. Everything was fine.
Okay. Mine is fucking straight up traumatic.
Well, hang on. Your babysitter, was it someone family, or like did they hire a
She was our neighbor.
Okay.
Who was years older than me.
Okay. How many?
5 years older than
talking?
me. 5 years?
Oh,
4 years?
Okay. All right. This is okay.
4 years older than me. So beautiful. Yeah. Like gorgeous.
Okay. So you have babysitter fantasies. Is that what
No. This is she was just so cool and kind to us, even though we were younger. Like she knew we looked up to her a lot, and she was so kind to us, and she was cool as shit. She was just cool. You know what I mean? Like when she came over, she had like the cool outfit on, and she was cool, and she like let us do whatever we wanted. Well, her brother, and his friend were at their house, and her brother was closer in age to me than she was. So in between the two of us was her brother's age.
Oh.
The way that my parents' front door is those doors that have the two glass paned windows on either side, but the main door only has like a small cutout window so that it's like a solid door. You can't really see. You see through the glass, but it's like triple paned and kind of so it looks like blurry. You can't really see through it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my parents' front door. And on either side is regular glass where the outside of it is kind of die cut. So that's a little blurry, but the very center is completely clean.
Okay.
So my parents had gone out to dinner for some like work event. My mom was a nurse. It was like an awards dinner or something, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So we get a knock on the door.
Uh-huh.
Her brother was like, I was more friends with him than anything, but like he went on to be like in the military, very, very intelligent, like worked bomb EOD, like super smart kid. But he had like a fake pellet gun that looked like a handgun.
Okay.
So he and his friend that he had over while we were being babysat put black balaclavas on.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Banged on our door.
Uh-huh.
I run to see who it is because she's like, do you guys know who that is? I'm like, no, I don't know who it is. And I look through the window and there are two men with guns and black balaclavas standing by the door. And I can see them perfectly because there's one on either side and the only part of the glass that you can see through, and they each have a gun and they're tapping it on the fucking window, laughing, saying, open up. Open up, Amanda. We know your parents aren't home. Open up.
But wait, do you recognize the voice at all at this point?
No, I don't know the friend.
Okay.
I don't know the friend.
Oh, okay.
So I fucking run and I'm like, Joy, there's people outside with guns. They have guns. She runs out. All she sees is two full-grown men with fucking guns. And she's got two little girls and a baby.
Oh, wait,
she's responsible for us. No. Run to the front door. My parents have a very large house, like big hallways.
Yeah, okay.
So then she runs into the back room. This is like 1995, 96, okay? Runs into the back room, tries to call my parents. There's no cell phone.
Yeah.
She calls the emergency number that my mom left for this like dinner thing. It's a restaurant or whatever the fuck it is.
Emergency
Leaves
numbers?
a message for them with the fucking hostess stand. Okay? Then she's like, we have to call the cops. Like, it was a whole fucking thing. We had to call the cops. We think these men with guns are outside. This is the worst part, Tom. We then hear the front door click open. We're hiding in my parents' bedroom because he knows where the spare key is.
Wait,
because he's like family.
Well, can I just back up 1 second? What? And I'll use a fun little effect here. But what? Like, when she you said she left a message. There's people. There's people with guns at the door, and she's just like, hi, I'm calling to leave a message because there's people with guns at the door. Just FYI. Like what? That doesn't make any sense. Like, also, out of all the numbers she calls, that's the one she's like, better call the parents who aren't here.
Like 10th or 11th grade.
But I feel like even at that point, you're aware of like, guns equal 911. Guns with masks equal 911 faster.
I believe the cops had already been called at this point. But she's like, hey, I have to call your parents and tell them that we've called the cops, essentially. So she calls them. Okay.
Got to cover
cops
all bases.
Have been called.
There. Got it. Okay.
Okay. But so then we hear the door open and then she's like, oh my fucking God. So now she's pushing us into my parents' bathroom. There's like a giant, very deep jacuzzi tub. And she's like, go in there. She's like trying to throw blankets on us to keep us safe and covered. And she's like,
stop bullets. That's
let's just talk about what a badass she was at this stage in her life. I want to say 10th or 11th grade. She's like, I'm going to make sure the kids are safe, cover them up, and I'm going to stand here and protect them in the bathroom.
Jeez. Oh, she was ready to take a stand.
She was ready to fuck these motherfuckers up.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
And then we hear boots walking down the hallway. My parents have hardwood floors, and we're like, oh, we're going to fucking die tonight. What are three little girls doing? Crying their eyes out. Okay. And then in walks her fucking brother and his friend with their little like ski masks pulled up to their head. Like, why are you guys freaking out?
Yeah.
Now everything's already unfolded because now the cops are called. My mom's leaving this dinner. Like it's a whole big fucking thing. So that's my traumatic babysitting story.
Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah.
Wait, so did the cops ever show up?
Sure fucking did.
And how would you explain that? But like, they were just pretending to be murderers.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Jeez.
Also, this is little kid brain. So a lot of that could have been fabricated into little kid story, but that's how I remember it.
You got to reach out to her and be like, hey, this is what I remember. Is this your recollection too?
We've talked about it at length because like we've stayed friendly with her. Yeah. For many, many, many years. Her dad still lives in that same house. It's like very close to my parents' house. So yeah, that's my fun babysitting story. That's how we're going to end this episode.
I mean, and to bring it full circle, I will say, I don't think at any point Chris, Elizabeth Shue's character, ever just goes, you know what, we're being chased by the mob. Maybe I should just go to the police instead. Like
she's from Chicago, Tom. They don't fuck around, okay?
I guess, yeah. Snitches get stitches.
That's right. She's like, not me. I'm from Chicago. I'm
and
Julius
Brad
Pepperwood.
got stitches. So, of course.
Brad got what he fucking deserved, that 87-year-old, 15-year-old, or whatever the fuck he was.
Poor guy who got rejected by Elizabeth Shue.
It's so sad.
And I like how he tried to be like, and I used that as projection into my character. No, you didn't.
So sad.
No, you didn't. You were just devastated that you had to be on a movie set with her for 3 more months.
Yeah.
And you knew that she wanted nothing to do with you. Oh, that poor kid. That woman went to Harvard and dropped out of Harvard to be there. And then she's like, yeah, but not with you.
I mean, let's be honest. There's a lot of things in this movie that did not age well. We do not condone them.
No.
But that, to me, that's just a girl. She's just a Chicago girl. She gonna do what she gonna do. And that boy, it's a good life lesson. It's a good life lesson.
It is. Yeah.
What we should have had is his offshoot movie.
What was that?
I don't know. I'm just writing it right now. We had his offshoot movie. His heart's broken and
he goes on a murdering rampage.
The next babysitter, he just bones, I guess. I don't know. In his parents' bed. I have no idea.
No, Anthony Rapp's like, hey, my friend's having a party in New York. We should go.
Yeah, we should go.
Sorry, that's really dark.
It'll get even worse. Okay.
Joke. All right. Sorry about that.
I got it.
I know. Well,
so that's it, guys. That's Adventures of Babysitting, 1987 classic. The year I was born. Also, this wonderful movie came out.
Yeah. I didn't realize that you were an 87 baby.
I sure am. 3/11/87.
Whoa. You got it all like...
It rhymes. I didn't plan that. I don't think my mom's uterus did either.
Fair enough. All right. I'll do the rundown. We got to run through our credits. You ready for this?
Yes, I sure am.
Thank you to our editor, Steph Weniger. Thank you to our production coordinator, Kyle Bosch, our social media producer, Dale Stampley. I am the executive producer. It's me, Tommy West. And then Can We Talk About is a production of Gotham West Studios. Follow us on all the social medias. It's Can We Talk About Podcast. And you can also find us at canwetalkaboutpodcast.com.
And if you are on any of those lovely podcast sites, it really does help us if you guys can drop us a review and subscribe to us, follow us, do all the things. And we do give out free merch. And I don't know how many times we have to tell you guys, this shit is free.
It's free. We have lots of lots of free stuff on the way, like really cool free stuff. So if you should be hanging out with us, friends.
Get in the know. Absolutely. And thanks for listening.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.